Good evening, everyone. This is Mason Sims, and welcome to another edition of our show. So, tonight we will not be having guests joining us, and as I mentioned in previous episodes, I'm going to be focusing more on addressing issues, and I may still have guests, but I'll mostly just be covering, some national, state, and also local issues. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. And also, as 2024 comes to an end, there's going to be big plans for all branches of government for the new year. So I'm excited to share some of the things that I've found. So again, my name is Mason Sims, and let's get started. So as mentioned, we're going to be covering a national, state, and also local issues for this evening. And our first topic is Trump's current picks for his cabinet when he gets sworn into office next January. Now, I've noticed it's not really just the media, but just a lot of people I've been talking with. He's faced so much criticism for the cabinet members that he has chosen. For instance, first off, I don't even know where they're getting this information from. Because if you do your research and read their qualifications, it seems like they are just as much qualified as anyone else. Honestly, I feel like if you have the Republican or the R by next to your name, you're going to face the most criticism. And I don't get it. I'll be happy to say, some Democrat presidents, I'd be happy to say some of the good things that they've done and some of the bad. And it seems like Republican, they just focus on the bad and don't focus on any positive things. So, for instance, going back to the cabinet the cabinet appointees, I have Brooke Rollins. She is going to be, Trump appointed her as a Secretary of Agriculture. Right there, I feel like that's a strong candidate because she went to Texas A&M and got her degree, and it was agriculture-related degree, and she's also been heavily involved in FFA. So what better person to serve that cabinet position than her? So right there, I feel like that's a solid cabinet pick. Next, we have Howard Lutnick, I believe his name. He's the CEO of an investment firm, and Trump has chosen him to be the Commerce Secretary. And you'll also, he will be dealing with finances and budgets and stuff like that in that cabinet position. And being a CEO of an investment firm, again, that's another strong pick for the cabinet. And also Robert F. Kennedy, as far as what he's going to be doing with health. I really feel like that's going to be good as well regarding what's in our foods. Because I feel like if you go to any fast food restaurants, it's heavily injected with steroids and just other unhealthy stuff. And I feel like it's really good that we'll be able to potentially get healthier foods. There's a lot of other countries, especially over in Europe, they're just made more fresh and more healthy. So obviously that's going to help with obesity crisis here. So I feel like that's another good cabinet pick. And another big one was Linda McMahon. And it seems like, just because that she was the assistant CEO, or no, she was the co-CEO of WWE with her husband Vince McMahon, people are just looking at that and feeling that just because that she she's involved in the wrestling entertainment industry, that she does not meet the qualifications to be on the education board. The Secretary of Education. But she has been, and I quote, looks like she has been on the Connecticut State Education Board, and she's also been a board member of the Sacred Heart University Trustees, and she's also a strong advocate member for school choice and parental rights. So really, I'm not sure that those who I've talked with, if they really have fully done their research or not, or they're going by just what the media has told them. And this is a lot of people, friends, family. There's a lot of people that I've spoken with. Seems like I've received these responses as far as Trump's cabinet picks. What I just gave you right here, these are clearly some solid candidates for this position. So my hope is in the future, not looking beyond Trump. just looking into like the next election, 2028. Just do your research, please. Because I'm probably, since 2016, I stopped believing, everything the news tells you. I will say there are some channels that are better than others, but really, do your research. Because honestly, it's going to be you that makes that decision, whether or not you're going to believe what you see on the news. So I just wanted to get that out there. But it will be interesting to see, though, when the new Senate members are sworn in and they have their first session, if these picks for Trump's cabinet will get approved or not. All right. And also, Biden has been facing some scrutiny lately over, some say he broke his promise when he said that he was not going to pardon his son, Hunter Biden, but he did. And I get it. I mean, that's your son. I'm not sure what anyone else, I'm sure a lot of other people in that situation too would do that, would look after family. Family comes first, obviously. The thing that's upset people, though, is it was a broken promise. He did promise that he was not going to pardon his son, but he did it anyway. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that politicians come across, at least when I ran for my campaign as well. I had several people advise me, just when you run for office, just make sure that you'll say, I'll do my best to do something. Never say, I'll promise to do it. Because as you know, I mean, there's only so much power that an elected official has. So if you promise all these things and it doesn't happen to go through on your first term, people are going to say, hey, you promised this, and they'll see you as a dishonest politician. So that's one thing. Yes, I get it. Family does come first, but you really should have been thoughtful and also aware of when he promised he was going to do something, then he does the opposite. He should have. Hopefully, he is aware of the consequences that he's facing. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects his legacy and how that affects his whole family's legacy. As far as state issues go, this week, the state legislature had met for the first time in a couple of months. And the biggest thing that was brought up by the House Freedom Caucus, was abortion. Currently, the law states can't be any more than 6 weeks. There are a few members that argue that it should be less than 6 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see in 2025, especially now since the House has the supermajority, if they'll get that passed where the abortion ban is less than 6 weeks. And also, I remember that Henry Wilson's State of the Union address, that was one thing that he had mentioned, was he wanted to raise teacher salaries. And I think a lot of my colleagues can agree, which I feel like, teachers, they take on a lot of responsibility. I feel like that was a great idea that he would like to raise the teacher salary. I believe he said he wanted to have it at no less than $50,000. Hopefully, that we'll see that happen, because I feel like a lot of people will agree that the teachers need to be paid, have to make worth their while what they're doing, because teaching is certainly not easy. And another thing they mentioned too was hurricane relief. So Republican Majority Leader Davey Hyatt, he had commented saying that the economy is in pretty good shape overall. So if he does think there is going to be some extra money in the budget to use towards hurricane relief packages. So hopefully that does happen. So really, that's what's going on in the state legislature, and I'm excited to see when they go back into session on January to see what happens. And as far as the city level goes, I'm curious to see what it's going to be like with the rezoning. Currently, Mayor Talbert has put a pause on future developments, which is good. There was something already in place when she was sworn in, and that was all the growth that happened from 2020 to 2023 was the zoning ordinance that went into effect before she was in. So it'll be interesting to see when they turn in the redistricting proposals in March, how the ward maps, if there'll be any differences at all, with the amount of people that have come in here the past few years. You can imagine that the ward maps probably could increase, and definitely some people might be in different wards than they once were. And another thing that I wanted to mention before we close off was I remember hearing at the meeting that is in one of the city council meetings that I attended that it's good to be civil when you go to these meetings, because there's a lot of people don't want to run for office, and I agree with that, because when you see just some of the scrutiny that you face and just some of the nastiness that you see, hardly anybody wants to run for positions. So I do agree with that. We should be civil during the meetings. That way we can get good candidates out there to run for positions. That part I do agree with. Unfortunately, in my county, I have seen, it seems like people handpick candidates they feel like they can control. And I don't feel like that's right. And I'm sure that you don't feel like that's right either. We want to have good candidates that are going to be running for all the right reasons. We shouldn't be having to interview with other elected officials to see whether or not we'd be qualified, and if we can be controlled by other elected officials. So I'm sure that's not who you want representing your district, ward, etc. You want to have a politician or a servant that's going to do right by you. It's going to make the decision that's in the best interest of the constituents, and not what other people, or not what other elected officials are wanting them to do. So that's one thing that I hope for in the next election. We get good candidates that are going to be running for all the right reasons, and not just running because other people just handpick them. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention as far as the city levels go. And next week we will be having a guest joining us. He is a pastor at a local church around here. And he's going to share some of the experiences that have happened since 2020, and how the future of the United Methodist Church will be. Another thing I wanted to mention too is reorg for the Republican Democratic parties will be next year on March of 2025. One thing that I do hope too, especially for the Republican Party, is that we come together. There's been a lot of divisiveness going on within the Pickens GOP. It's gotten so bad that I just kind of have kept my distance from certain people there. And don't get me wrong, there are good people in the Pickens GOP, and I still do keep in contact with them. The one thing I do hope for is that there's not going to be as much petty stuff and drama that's going to be going on, and that we can find ways to find common ground. Because in reality, no, we're not going to agree with everything. We certainly aren't. That's not how our government works, or that's not how life works. So that's one thing I notice when people hear MAGA, they think of someone that's not willing to compromise on anything. But I don't necessarily believe that's true either. MAGA simply means, putting America first and taking care of our own. I know there are several people that are part of the MAGA party that it's their way or no way. But I truly believe there's others that are willing to compromise as well. And you have to have that in order to have a successful government. But yes, if you need help on what your precinct is, or where that reorg is going to be, just make sure to keep up further updates. I will say the last reorg it was advertised pretty well, so just make sure to be on the lookout. I'm sure it'll be in local papers like Easley Progress and the Pickens Courier. So just keep alert, and I'll share it on my podcast as well once I find additional information. But again, even though depending on how the election went your way or did not go your way, just feel free to get involved. And like I mentioned to many people that I talk to, it all starts down at the local levels. You may not be able to make a difference in every single thing that you want to, but hey, just for working on one or two things and just get at least 1% better. That's what matters. And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please click like, share, and subscribe for future updates on my YouTube channel, and also follow us on Facebook to keep up with updates as well. Next week, we'll resume Tuesday night with another episode. And if you have any suggestions too on what topics you'd like for me to cover, also feel free to put that in the comments as well. I hope that everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving week, and hope everyone's week is off to a great start, and that you all have a good evening tonight. So good night, everybody. Thank you for watching, and God bless America. Thank you.